Unit 2 Economics, Day 5, the Fed. Predict the economic effects of Federal Reserve policy.
When people say things like the government has to do something, I think, have you ever studied what happens when the government does something compared to what happens when they don't do anything? And for 150 years, the government of the United States did nothing when there was a depression. No depression during all those 150 years was ever as bad as the Great Depression of the 1930s, in which the government did more than it had ever done before in its entire history. The stock market crash occurred in October 1929, right? 2 months later, unemployment peaked at 9%, and then it started declining. And by June of 1930, it was down to 6.3%. That was when the first government intervention took place. And within 6 months, it was in double digits. And it stayed in double digits for the entire decade of the 1930s.
The government does something in the economy, and the Federal Reserve, a quasi government agency, also does something in the economy. How does the Fed work? Fed loans money to banks, banks then loan money to people. That's how our system works. Pretty simple, straightforward. Our economic system experiences booms and busts. It's pretty natural. It's totally normal. It's going to happen. The Federal Reserve, their existence is to level those booms and busts. It's not that they want to limit the high times, but by limiting the high times, you also prevent the really, really bad times. So they're okay with some ups and downs. They just want the roller coaster ride to be smooth and soft. And over time, we slowly ascend in our gross domestic product, or the goods that we produce, and our production and our economy slowly grow over time through a various series of ups and downs, but relatively calm ones. At least that's what they try to do. Again, they loan money to banks loan money to households and firms, and it's all about those loans. That's how the money either increases or decreases. Low interest rates increase borrowing. That gets more money in the economy grows. This works in the form of the Fed printing money and then loaning the money out. Then the Fed can slow the economy down by increasing interest rates, which then decreases loans, and money slowly seeps into the system and the economy slows down. Less printing, less borrowing, slow things down when things get too hot. Now, that limits the amount of cash, and that might sound like a bad thing, but we'll get to it. So again, lower interest rates, more loans, economy grows, very much just like hitting the gas. If you're driving a car, the Federal Reserve is a car, the economy is a car, hit the gas, flood the economy with cash, spending, productivity, yeah. The opposite, hiring interest rates, while like hitting the brakes, slow the economy down. Inflation out of control, probably. We'll talk more about that in a second. You're probably saying, I get it, why we would lower interest rates and flood the money and help everybody out. But why would you ever slow things down? Why would you ever fight growth in the economy? We'll get to that in a little bit. It just doesn't seem like a good idea to take money out or slow the movement of money in. But first, let's hit the easy one. Why the Federal Reserve slams the throttle, gets on the gas. Well, it's obvious. When the economy is slowing down, we're heading towards recession or depression, people are losing their jobs, spending is going down, people are hurting. You got to get money out into the economy. Right now, the economy is not doing so hot, and so the Federal Reserve is planning to hit the gas, get some money out there, increase spending, increase production, hopefully increase jobs, and people start doing better. So they'll print the money, they'll loan the money out, and in theory, things will start to bounce back. Now, they couldn't do this before because we were tied to the gold standard. They could not print those receipts that were receipts for gold bars. They couldn't print those because they could only print the dollars that were backed by gold. That's a problem. You can't print. You can't print, can't loan, you can't juice the economy up. There's no gas pedal on that car. The economy doesn't grow, you sink to the bottom. So the Fed says, we need more control. Let us manage the amount of money in the economy. Let us control when we put a lot in, when we slow it from going in. So when we hit the gas, when we hit the brake, And we can then control these ups and downs and make the roller coaster ride a kiddie ride. Let us drive. So in 1971, we get off the gold standard. This enables the Federal Reserve to print as many receipts that are no longer backed by gold as they want, as long as the people still believe in those receipts. And you do. Your dollar in your pocket is not backed by gold, but you don't worry about it. You know, if you give that dollar to someone else, they also believe in that dollar, everything is good. So now you're off the gold reserve and they can print money as much as they want. Loan it out, get the economy moving again. That's the gas pedal. Let's talk about the brake. So the little bit more trickier situation, but not really. We're going to stop printing money. And when there is less money, there's less spending. But before we get there, let's talk about the scenario that caused them to hit the brake. And it's called inflation. If you put more money in the economy, you increase demand. More money means more spending. Supply has not changed. That is a key. The supply of goods and products is still static. It's still the same. It has not moved. The amount of Ford F-150s is the same amount of Ford F-150s. But now, in the economy, the helicopter's flown over. Bags of cash have been thrown out. Everyone has money. They run around shopping, buying F-150s, fighting over those F-150s. And in that fight, and in that spending spree, that mass bidding war between people over the products that the supply has not changed, the price goes up. Demand goes up, price goes up. Prices increase. That's inflation. And when inflation gets out of control, Fed says too much money, too much spending. We got to hit the brakes, slow it down, slow down the bidding war. And if you slow down the bidding war, you slow down the auction, there's less people participating in the auction. Instead of thousands fighting over the F-150, it's a couple hundred. There's not as many people bidding, and so the price goes down. Stop printing and loaning. Stop spending. You're going to decrease demand. Less people are demanding, and when demand goes down, price goes down, inflation's fixed. The Big Mac, 2018, $5.69, 2024, $9.72, almost doubled. Printed much money, customers going out fighting over those Big Macs, the price is doubling. Fed comes in and says, we got to fix this Big Mac problem. Priority number one of our administration, address Big Mac inflation. It's a real problem. So we've been printing too much money, spending went up, demand went up, price went up. We're out there fighting over your Big Macs. Pretty natural. Inflation happens. You just don't want it to get out of control, and you keep it from going out of control by hitting the brakes. Now, the bigger problem is that this wouldn't be such a big deal, but unfortunately, wages often don't increase along with the price of goods. We'll get to that in a second. Because if you're a high-level thinker, you would say, if inflation increases prices, it should also increase wages. Some cases that's true, some cases it's not. We'll get to that, but let's just focus on the Big Mac inflation for now. Fed hits the brakes, stops printing and loaning money. Eventually, spending decreases, demand decreases, prices fall. Big Mac falls. And although your wages have not increased, Big Mac is affordable again. Hip, hip, hooray. But again, going back to the idea of wait, demand increased, prices increased. That's inflation. There should be wage inflation as well. Demand's up, prices up. How? It doesn't make any sense. Wages should have gone up as well. Well, let's break that down. So we have firms and households spending when we're pumping money into the economy. Tons of demand. Firms are buying from firms. Households are buying from firms. A lot of shopping going on. A lot of fighting over the products. And in this system, it's pretty quick and efficient. And so it responds and reacts to inflation much quicker. Millions of people are out there. Millions of people are out there shopping every single day, fighting over goods. Every single minute, people are swiping their cards. Ching, 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 ching. Nonstop. And it's quick. It's efficient. You can click a mouse and get your goods. Run through the store. Get your goods. Tons of purchases. Tons of transactions. Tons of little auctions happening over and over and over in a snap. This system, because it's quick and efficient, responds to the inflation much quicker. The auctions are happening much faster, and it's much more transparent. Whereas when we look at hiring, which is basically the business buying you, it's not as easy. It's a slower, complex system. It doesn't move as rapidly. There are still purchases happening, but not millions of transactions every second. And so it responds a lot slower. Getting a new job is not really a fast process. People are reluctant to quit. Businesses are reluctant to hire. There's a lot more that goes into the process and investigating. Whereas if you just decide, I'm going to get a Reese cup, throw it in the cart. It doesn't work that way when we look at hiring people. We'll go even further here. So buying goods, easy, quick, efficient. There's price tags on everything. You can shop around. Businesses know you're shopping around. Prices are constantly adjusting and changing and reacting to all the thousands of auctions that are taking place. Billions of auctions every single day, swiping. You're shopping around on websites, everything, it's quick, it's efficient, it reacts very rapidly. Hiring is not like that. Maybe there's thousands of little auctions happening each day. And they're in various different fields with various different rules and different wages and different skills attached to different workers. It's much more complex than just saying I want a crock pot or buying an appliance or choosing a Reese cup over a Three Musketeer. And then on top of that, in most situations, prices are not as visible. You don't really know who's making what. You don't know the different salaries. We don't walk around with price tags on our back, whereas in a store we do. Just another way that slows the system down, makes people reluctant to quit, makes people reluctant to take new jobs, makes businesses reluctant to hire people. Just a slower, more meticulous process. And that's why it doesn't respond to inflation rapidly. Over time, in theory, wages would and should increase just at a much slower rate. But there is one job where, at least one job, where wages do respond to inflation rapidly. There's a situation where getting a job is almost similar to a shopping experience. It's quick, it's efficient, it's transparent. So we go back to inflation happening and a position where wages actually do increase. Well, first of all, we know that the inflation exists because customers are shopping. There's more money in the economy, so people are running around buying. We've got all these auctions going on, bidding on a supply that has not changed, and in that bidding war, prices go up. Demand's up because people have money to buy, price goes up. That happened to products. There's another level of demand we also need to talk about to understand the actual wage inflation that does occur for one line of work. There is a hiring process that's fast and quick. So not only do we have customers outbidding and fighting constantly over products, we also have firms bidding and fighting desperately over employees. So you have the level of demand increase with customers buying, but we also, or households buying, firms buying goods. We also have firms really in demand for workers. So we have a doubling of demand. And because of this doubling of demand, we do have a profession, if we want to call it that, where wages increase right along with inflation. It's not as slow as other jobs. It is very transparent. It's quick because of the doubling of demand. So where is this profession where people get jobs? Almost like shopping, where people's jobs and wages actually increase rapidly along with inflation, are more responsive to inflation and the flooding of the economy with money? You guessed it, Big Ron. Fast food industry. The fast food industry and fast food workers, they do get the benefits of inflation in terms of wage increases, unlike other professions. Why? Because people are constantly quitting. And because people are constantly quitting, Big Ron is constantly hiring. People quit jobs in fast food and take another job in fast food. They shop around. And that also means Big Ron and the king of burgers, Burger King, is also constantly shopping around, hiring and firing, hiring and firing. And people were quitting and taking new jobs and quitting and taking new jobs. And you have a lot of auctions happening. Obviously, not billions like it's happening in the stores, but compared to other professions where people are reluctant to quit because they don't know what's out there, they don't know what other people are getting paid, they don't know if they can do better in terms of benefits, in terms of fast food, you have a really good idea of what you're buying. You have a really good idea of really what you're selling, which is yourself. And because you know that, and you know what other people are making, and you know what all the businesses are offering price-wise, it's a lot like shopping around the store. When you look at the candy aisle, you see all the brands, you see all the prices, you know exactly what's in them. It's very easy to make the purchase. When you take a new job, for the most part, you never really know what that new job entails. You never really know all the duties and responsibilities of that job or the wages or any of that. And it's risky. It's not risky to buy a Reese cup over a Three Musketeer. It's not risky to move from one fast food place to the other. So that affects behavior and it speeds up the hiring process, speeds up the firing process. And we have a lot more movement of goods, more transactions, more bidding wars taking place. And so as Big Ron and Burger King fight over you, there's a competition for that supply of workers. And when the demand between all the fast food goes up because they have money to spend and they're fighting over you in order to get you to work, they have to pay you more. Demand is up in this scenario because people are always quitting. And when demand goes up, also because of the customer shopping, prices go up. So we have the regular demand to begin with because we printed a bunch of money, and that allows customers to shop. That also allows Big Ron to take loans and pay his employees or build more Big Rons. But also, because people are constantly quitting and changing jobs, there's another level of demand layered on top of that. So yes, there's a bunch of money in the economy, and that allows Big Ron and Burger King to get into bidding wars. But also because they're always seeking these few employees that are constantly moving around, there's even more of a fight, and that results in wages increasing. And then on top of that, because of this really increased demand and this very strong fight between all the fast food restaurants to hire the few people that will work there, they've had to be very aggressive in that they will actually put the prices available. Most jobs you apply for, you don't really have an idea of what the wages are going to be. You're not sure what they're going to pay you. In the fast food industry, because the competition has become so fierce, just like a bunch of pizza places fighting for you as a customer, they're constantly showing you their prices and deals to get you in. It's the same situation if you reverse it for companies in the fast food industry trying to hire workers. They reveal their price as well. And so you, as an employee, can shop around. Just like you'd shop around at pizza places, you can shop around fast food places. So it's a very transparent system. That's why it responds quickly to inflation. Very much like shopping around. And so we see in 2019, $10 per hour was your average McDonald's wage. 2024, $17 per hour. And if you remember the Big Mac price, it almost doubled. McDonald's employees' prices have almost doubled. And so they have followed inflation because of the way that the hiring process works, because of the way of this mini economy, the mini economy of the fast food industry. Other mini economies, other parts of the economy, do not respond to inflation as rapidly. And we can do another simple one. Imagine you're a construction worker, day laborer, blue-collar worker. For the most part, blue-collar workers during this time of inflation have not experienced an increase in wages. Prices have gone up on everything they buy, but their wages have not gone up, creating some pretty hard times. But that shouldn't be the case, you argue. Now, eventually, if it were to continue, eventually, over time, wages would increase slowly, but just not rapidly. But there's something else going on that has slowed or has allowed inflation not to affect wages. So we know demand's up. That's increased the money in the economy. It's increased spending. Wages should have gone up, but they didn't. Well, the trick here is supply has actually changed in some sectors of the economy. There's more spending, more buying, prices go up. That's great. And that's because supply, well, that's not great. Supply had not changed. Everybody's bidding over the same amount of products. If supply had gone up, if there had been more products, the money would have been fine paying for the more products, and we wouldn't have as many bidding wars going on. Now, in the terms of the blue collar worker, there is more money in the economy. Firms have more money to spend on workers. And so with all that extra money, they should be able to bid over those workers. And they should have to fight over those few workers. That has not changed. But the demand doesn't hurt. The bidding war doesn't happen because supply actually did change. How so? Well, there's a lot more workers. So demand increased in these blue collar professions. And the companies were ready, the firms were ready to bid over the few employees. And that would have caused wage increases. But supply did change along with the increase in demand. We print a bunch of money, loan it out, but we also kind of print some people. How do you print people? Well, we've added more blue collar workers along with adding money. So we've increased supply. And you know what happens when we increase supply? Where did this supply come from? Supply came in the form of immigrants to the country. So yes, demand's up. That causes inflation, which should cause wage inflation. But wages don't go up in the blue collar industry because those wages are suppressed or do not grow because supply of blue collar workers has increased. And when supply goes up, price goes down. So we have these two laws, supply and demand, negating each other. Whereas we should see prices going up as companies bid over blue collar workers, the bidding war is relatively tame because instead of bidding over a few workers, we have a lot of workers to bid over. And the firms don't have to negotiate as fiercely. They don't have to fight as hard in the auctions. And so the prices do not go up because we have increased the amount of workers. That'll do it. Predict the economic effects of the Federal Reserve policy.